Hey, welcome back to Budget for Life. It's so great to see you again. It has been a bit since I posted my last video. We went to Mexico right after I posted it for 2 weeks. All budgeted, paid for. It was fantastic, family and friends. And then probably as soon as I got back, I had a stomach bug and then had a cold. Ugh, it was not fun. But during that time, I thought about what is it I want to talk to you guys about when it comes to budgeting? How can you improve your budgeting expertise? What have I learned in my journey and even our journey, my husband and I, in improving our financial situation? And I realized that the next topic I really wanted to talk about was priorities. Priorities make a huge difference in your budget overall. Now, when we talk about priorities, a lot of things that the first thing we think about is those big goals. I want to buy a house. I want to buy a car. I want to go on a great vacation. Like, oh my God, have you seen that new show, The Reluctant Traveler with Eugene Levy? Oh, I started planning one of those vacations and then soon got a realization. Ain't gonna happen because I have my priorities in place on my budget. That's usually what we think about when it comes to the priorities in our budget. But we don't talk about the priorities you need to have in your day-to-day spending decisions and whether you say yes or no to something. In the day-to-day spending, are you making those decisions that line up for both meeting those big goals and for living the life that you want? So what does that mean in a real life example? We got serious about looking into our budget with the pandemic. Became simple, you're home, not a lot to do. So our big goal, paying off a lot of debt. So that was easy. But then we needed to look at the rest of our budget and say, hey, what are we doing? What are we spending? Is that reasonable? Is that what we want to be spending our money on? And do we want to be proactive in making decisions rather than reactive of, oh, I'll just do better next month? One area we had was eating out. So our dining out was on average, sometimes I don't want to say this, $700 a month. Now, for some people, they're like, meh, that's nothing. Other people are like, oh my God, how can you spend $700? Well, it was a combination. We'd eat some nicer meals, include alcohol, which is always very expensive. I was working in an office. My husband works from home. So I would be lazy and not bring lunch. And then I would even get lazier and not bring breakfast for after I worked out. So as we were going through the different things in our budget, we decided, okay, what is more reasonable for our eating out budget? And we settled on $400. Now, again, people may say that's extravagant. Other people are like, how do you survive? But that's what we were comfortable with. Really, the budget needs to be your priorities. And for us, that was, we decided eating out once a week, which usually was on Friday, the end of the week. It was a nice transition and we didn't have to think about Friday night meals. We'd average out about $50. We kind of brought those meals down. So that was $200 on the Fridays, which left us $200 for stopping at Tim Hortons for a hot chocolate or, a quick eating out as we were doing something else. We've been really successful with that, saying, hey, that is much more reasonable for what we want to spend. And so during the week, it gets to be the, I'm really tired. What do you want for dinner? Do you want to just order? That conversation is gone and it's replaced with, I really don't want to cook. What can we do? Grilled cheese soup, or maybe it's spaghetti, or we've also taken to eating more leftovers so the leftovers don't get thrown out. So there's lots of ways around it, but again, this is fitting it up to our priorities. Within that, we also then have to start looking at the rest of our budget. So we come to a place where we've spent some, but then we get an invite out and it's something we can't turn down for whatever reason. We then have to go look in our budget at our other categories and decide, where can I take the money from? This really became that key part in determining priorities, because I had my ideas on which categories I could take from that were like, meh, whatever. And my husband had different categories that he had things that he didn't want to take from, or yeah, whatever, I don't have as much stake in the game on those ones. And so we had to align ourselves so that I understood what his priority was and why, and he understood what mine was. And so what that helped us do is, so if dining out is here, we had different priorities up here that were higher for us that no, if we're overspending on dining out, these are the kind of categories, don't touch them, don't take money from them. On the flip side, here's some categories that, you know, for both of us are lower priority, we can pull money from there. Or if we've built up some money in there and we look at, okay, so let's use the dog, for example, right? We have a category for her. She's got her vet visit, she's generally healthy, her food is up, and we've built up a little bit of a balance. Yeah, let's take a little bit out of there, and that's how we're gonna fund this invite out for a dinner. And that prevents a lot of these fights between us of why would you do that? And you're not taking my feelings into consideration, or, you know, you're controlling me. You're also living your life to your values and your priorities. It becomes really easy to say, hey, I saw that on TV and, you know, great place, those vacations. So that reluctant traveler, oh, some of those places are fantastic. One of them was in the Maldives for $7,000 a night. Well, I can get a really nice vacation for a week for the two of us for $7,000 versus one night. That's what I mean about those priorities. You take that kind of conversation and bring it down to the lowest level in your budget, whether it's eating out, groceries, maybe it's buying things for the kids, the new technology, the latest phone, the latest Apple Watch, whatever it is. You need to take that logic and apply it down at everything you do in your budget. It's not just these big decisions. And once you do that, you'll start to see some magic happening, because now you're being proactive because you're saying, hey, where am I going to get the money from? Or, no, you know what? I can't get the new watch. You'll feel less stress. You won't be going into debt. You won't feel like you're on a constant treadmill, because you'll feel like you're living within your means. And we'll have a whole video on that in the future, but you're living your values, and it'll help you determine, am I making enough? So right now, you know, I feel like we're making more than enough to sustain what our lifestyle is. If I had some higher end tastes, maybe then I need to go and look at side hustles or a new job with a higher income. Really, that's what I'm trying to say when it comes to priorities. It's not just the big things in there, but those day-to-day decisions. If you can get those online, man, I tell you, you will feel completely different about your money. And it'll really open your eyes to what is possible rather than constant frustration. So I hope this has been helpful for you in learning about what priorities are. If you want to learn more about budgeting, check out this video I have on my channel.